Mr. Fix-It is here to take on your DIY dilemmas. Text or WhatsApp to 083 3010 103.
Good morning.
Top of the morning. Wonderful morning.
What lies are you going to tell today?
You know I cannot tell a lie. It's just not in my nature.
There's lie number one. Off to a great start, Cloonan. Brilliant. Well done.
It's true. It's true. I'm a terrible liar, so I just decided not to tell them.
Well, you can tell your first lie to Thomas in Mullingar.
Okay.
Who says he planted a new lawn in April just gone. It's mostly fine, but there's a large patch of thistles in one area, and it's frustrating him.
So you can't use, there are lawn weed killers that are specific to use on a lawn. Will not do any harm to the lawn whatsoever, but will kill every weed out there. And the best of those would be a blended one that has 4 different ones in it called dicofar, and that kills all the weeds. Thistles are not that difficult to kill because they have a big broad leaf and plenty of target for the weed killer to hit. But in this particular case, because it's such a new lawn, even the dicofar, which doesn't harm monocots, which is grass, and does affect weeds, which are dicots, but it would affect new grass, so I wouldn't take a chance on it. So what you do in this case is either use the dicofar if you have it, or else even use Roundup, mix it up a little bit stronger than normal, add a little bit of wallpaper paste to it. You'll buy a little bag of wallpaper paste for a couple of euros, and just make it good and thick, put it in a jam jar, and just brush it on. So each thistle would have 6 leaves. You just want to brush it 1 leaf or in the centre of the plant. You'll actually do it quite quickly, and it's quite therapeutic to go out and just spend it 10 or 15 minutes. And because it's systemic, it'll go right in through the leaves, right down to the roots. It'll kill off the plant. And once you don't get it on the leaves, which is the reason for the wallpaper paste, it obviously is a paste. It helps it stick to the plant, but it's also a thickening agent. So it's not dripping as you're doing it, because it's now a thick paste that just brushes on very easily, and that'll wipe out the thistles in the lawn. But if you're in the normal way, I mean, the best time of the year, it's always a bit counterintuitive, the very best time of the year to sow, like the listing was right, April, well actually the very best time is September, believe it or not, which seems strange to be sowing going into the winter, followed closely by April. And the only reason that September is considered better is because you have more rain, you have more moisture, and nearly every plant just likes lots of moisture. And it's like we always say to people when they're...
So the wettest times of the year, in other words.
Exactly.
Okay.
And equally well for, particularly if you're sowing hedging or shrubs or trees, the time of the year to sow is September. They have a much better chance, because you can imagine how little water is getting down to the roots, and people always struggle with getting water to the roots of trees and the roots of shrubs and the roots of hedging.
You can buy that special hose.
Yeah, for the hedging you can buy the soaker hose, which is brilliant, and sometimes people see it. I'd be saying to people, connect up so a soaker hose is just a long length of black hose, and it just weeps out water. So you'd actually connect your ordinary hose to the end of it. So say you have 30 metres of copper beech. You'll put down the soaker hose, 30 metres long, you connect your ordinary hose up at the end of it, and then you'll turn on the tap, and the water will just barely weep out of this. So you'd leave it on for a number of hours, but the water goes right down to the roots. It doesn't wet the surface. It doesn't spread out across the surface. It only goes, it's incredible. You'd look at it and say, that's not going to do anything. But if it was coming out at force, it'd spread out a foot wide, a metre wide, and it'd only be an inch thick into the soil. Whereas this is the exact reverse. It only spreads about half an inch, 12 mil either side of the hose, but it goes down and down and down. And equally well, if you're planting trees or large shrubs, the best thing to do is just get a bit of rigid pipe. You can buy waste pipe as cheap as chips. And when you're sowing the tree, put down the rigid pipe down at the root ball. So you dig a hole. You always dig the hole a bit bigger than you need. You
love digging holes.
Yeah, I'm not as good at filling them though, but I think that's your specialty. So you put down the tree into the hole, and then you put a pipe.
Wait a minute, what?
Then you put a pipe.
I want to think about it?
Then you put a pipe down into the hole beside the root ball, and then you fill in. So now when you look at the tree, you have the tree and a tiny bit of pipe sticking up out of the ground. And when you want to water the tree, you put the hose into the end of the pipe, turn it on for 10 or 15 minutes, but all the water goes straight down to the root ball where it's needed. And equally well, what happens with the soaker hose, what happens with the pipe, it doesn't evaporate away because all the water on the surface just evaporates. Those top couple of inches just evaporate away in no time whatsoever.
So, a conversation involving rigid pipe, filling holes. What was it? Soak balls?
Soaker hose.
Sorry.
Nobody mentioned balls, only you.
No, you did. Root ball.
Root ball. Okay.
Yes, sorry. Okay, Tom in Moat has ants in the kitchen. He has heard you mention this many, many times, but didn't pay attention because he didn't have ants in the kitchen. What can he use? It's a bait station?
Yeah. So I don't exaggerate when I say for the last, this is what? July.
2026.
So May, June, July. I would safely bet that not a single day has gone by in our shop without a number of customers in about ants. So I always just say that just to reassure people, you are not alone. They haven't singled you out. They are everywhere this year. I always say, so when customers comes in, and I would always say that this is actually, depending on which side of the counter you are, it's the worst year for ants from the customer side of the counter, but it's the best year for ants from my side of the counter because we're selling so much ant stuff. But yeah, the cheapest and best thing to use are the bait stations. And they are not ant traps. People always think they're ant traps. They're not. They're a feeding station for ants that they bring the food back. Now,
Very special food.
Very special food. They'll all have a big party and then they'll all die of a hangover. But the problem with this time of the year is you tend to get flying ants. And I don't mind ants in the house at all. But I don't know what it is about the flying ants. They give me the heebie-jeebies. I suppose they tend to congregate in hundreds, or as customers always describe it as millions. They're always saying there's millions of ants. So the flying ants is, when they're flying, they're mating, and they tend to congregate on glass on a window. But there can genuinely be hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of them. And they give me the heebie-jeebies, I don't know why. So what you would do in that case is, if you see the area that they're congregating on, as I say, it's mostly glass, get one of the residual insecticides like Insectrol or the Pest Shield, Deathlac, any of that. Wow, you are paying attention.
It's only been 22 years.
30 in my case. And spray it on, and if they crawl over it, they die. So you just get dead ants on the ground. Yeah.
Does anybody use a fly swatter anymore?
Oh yeah, we sell. And actually, here's the thing to say. This is a bugbear of mine. We sell so many fly swats, and but if you're using a fly swat, if you buy a fly swat, 9 times out of 10, no matter what brand you get, there's always a sticker on it with a barcode. Okay, but 9 times out of 10, the sticker with the barcode is in the middle of the swat, the bit that you do the swatting with. And how a swat works so well, like what's the difference between a rolled up newspaper and a fly swat?
I suppose it's harder for the fly to know the swatter is coming because it allows the air to pass through.
Exactly.
If you put a label on it, the air can't pass through.
Exactly.
So you might as well have the roll of newspaper.
Exactly. So when you buy a fly swat, if there's a sticker in the middle we always take them off as we're selling them, but if you buy a fly swat and there's a sticker in the middle of it, take it off.
Next listener, I started to paint a timber post and rail fence with dark wood preserve. As I feel it's too dark, is there a way to strip it back and restart using a clear or lighter colour wood preserve?
I'm afraid not. Now, it will fade with time, but unfortunately not. So I would agree with the listener, like the very best thing to do any outside fencing in my book is just an oil-based wood preservative, because it soaks in, it'll never chip, it'll never peel, it'll just eventually fade back. But you do have to be sure of your colour. And just give it a little bit of time, because when it goes on first, it will be very, if it's a dark one, it will be very dark. But it does fade back. But it's not going to fade back. If it's a good brand, it'll have a better colour holding facility than some of the cheaper ones. The ones that are designed for building purposes fade really quickly. The ones that are designed for decorative purposes, like all the, Sadlin, Cuprinol, Crown, Bondex, they all have fast colouring in it. So unfortunately not. So personally I would say if you've done a good bit or
you're committed,
just carry on. It will fade over time.
It'll fade in the sun, so
Yes.
let's hope we get lots of it.
Yeah.
Which for the next few days we can enjoy, thankfully.
Mr. Fixes with Brian Cloonan. Call 0818 300 103 and put our toolman to the test.
Is it long since you... well, it's obviously a long time, but would you think your school uniform still fits?
It would.
Would it?
Yep.
You don't use it?
I just don't know who it would fit. Wouldn't fit me. I know, the belly isn't too bad.
No, in fairness, you're looking
It has
trim.
varied in size a lot over the years.
Yeah.
Currently, we're in the leaner phase.
Excellent. Well done.
Yeah, it's a number, what is it, an even number year.
All right, is that the way it works?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
2027, I'll be 17 stone again. Good morning, Will and Brian. How would you remove tractor engine oil from a concrete yard?
So, it's too late now. I presume it's not. So let's say something happens now, this minute. You spill an oil of some sort, vegetable oil, cooking oil. Sorry, I'm same thing. Engine oil. Something happens that you get oil on your tarmac, on your concrete, on your whatever. If you see it and it's still liquid, immediately try and absorb it. So the two best things for more absorbing that you would have maybe to hand would be wood pellets from your wood pellet burner. Absolutely brilliant. Crush it down. Keep rubbing it in. So put on a pair of gloves and just keep rubbing it in. And the same thing applies to the moss peat. So the moss peat is the second one. Compost, peat-based compost, really absorbent. And just pour it on and keep rubbing and rubbing as if it's a cloth. Just keep rubbing it in and it all soaks up. Now, the problem is even within a day, that's gone. It's soaked down into the surface. So now it's about making it less noticeable. You'll never get it back 100%. But so the best thing for that are one of the degreasers. It doesn't really matter. Grease Away, Crud Cutter. There's various ones that come in slightly bigger containers specifically for oil and drive, oil and tarmac, oil and concrete, concrete, tarmac and path oil remover.
Well
Got there. Wow. So with all of those,
Say it
what you
again.
do is put it on. No. With all of those, what you do is put it on, give it about 20 minutes, then give it a good scrub, give it another few minutes, then put it on some hot water, give it another scrub, and then hose it all off. So now what you're doing is you're diluting the oil, you're breaking it down, and by hosing it off, you're spreading a really thin solution over a big area, and that will definitely make it a lot less noticeable.
Alrighty. Next. Can we use the same method of execution to get rid of these red crawlers on my outside windowsills? That's from Marie. I assume she's referring to a bait station of some kind, is she?
Yeah, she is, but no. So what do you call them? What did we all call them as kids?
Oh, bloodsuckers.
Bloodsuckers, yeah. So look, they are completely harmless. They're
not bloodsuckers.
They're not bloodsuckers. They don't really come into the house. You see them, the white of the windowsill, the white of a wall capping, they don't really come into the house. If you put your finger on them, you see the red splat, and that's why they look like, like they're not bloodsuckers. They're blood red in colour, but they're not bloodsuckers. So if you can use the Insectrol. So if you spray on the Insectrol, if you really don't like them, just spray on the Insectrol at the edges. So they're coming from the gap at the back. So if you take the windowsill, if your windowsill is 4 foot long, you just be spraying the return at the both sides and the very back, and spray on Insectrol. That'll last for a couple of months. If they crawl over it, they die. But as I say, they don't come into the house and they are harmless.
Alrighty. Now, 083 30 10 103, text or indeed WhatsApp, if cheaper, usually is. Rachel in Burr says, I am just back from 2 weeks in sunny España.
Lovely.
Great to be back now to the Irish sunshine. When we came back, we noticed a wasp's nest had formed in the kids' wooden playhouse. So we need to remove this as we don't want the kids to get stung. We don't want to get stung ourselves.
Yeah. So look, as we always say, if you can leave it alone, do. We've had a wasp nest in the house for years, and fortunately it doesn't tend to cause a problem. But equally well, if there's a problem with your pets, we've 2 dogs at home now, and if the wasps were a problem, I know what I'd be doing. So in this case, you can't take a chance with your kids. You can't tell your kids not to go into the playhouse. So you get a thing, because you can see the nest, you can get a thing called wasp nest foam destroyer. So that is a thing that you shake it, it comes out like a fire extinguisher, so you can stand well back, you won't have to go into the playhouse at all. And at night, when they're all in the nest, just spray it on and it will dissolve the nest, and it will completely eradicate them. They'll be narcoticized and they will die. So, and it's not
what?
Narcoticized. So even
Narcoticized?
Yes.
Oh, they're drugged?
Yeah.
Okay. Why couldn't you just say they're drugged?
Yeah, I don't know why, because it says narcoticized in the tin.
You want to be
and I
posh.
got into the habit. Oh, well, I'm very posh. I am awfully posh. So they'll be drugged. And if they do fly out of the nest, they won't sting you.
Okay. Excellent. In English, please, next time.
I'm going to give one-word answers now for the rest of the time.
You will.
See how you like that.
You will and all. So Jerry in Tubber says he got new galvanised gates in January. Painted them 2 months ago, so that would be May, and they're flaking already. What did he do wrong?
Should have prepped them properly, used a primer, and that's it.
Okay. Jerry and Tupper got new galvanised gates. They flaked 2 months ago.
Yeah, so galvanising...
In detail, what did he do wrong and how does he put it right?
New galvanised can't be painted without going through a lot of prep. So new galvanised, even if you just run your hand on it, it'll come away with an oil on it. It'll be greasy, and you have to degrease it. So the traditional thing with galvanised gates were you didn't paint them at all until the silver was gone and they were gone grey. So when you buy them brand new, they'll be silver, and that could be a year or two before the silver has kind of dulled down to a flat grey as opposed to shiny silver galvanised. But you can paint them now by degreasing with methylated spirits, so not white spirits, methylated spirits. I'd always say a nylon scarring pad is just so handy because it really works into it really well. But because meths evaporates away, you wouldn't be doing it in this heat now, but meths evaporates away so quickly, even in cold weather. In this weather, it'd just be wiped off. It'll be gone the minute you put it on. But it's a two-handed job. You're putting on the meths and the sponge, wipe down a portion of the gate, and then immediately with a rag clean it off because it's drying out so quickly. And having done that, then you're going to use a special metal primer. There's dozens of them out there now. Or if you want, you can use special metal primer followed by the paint you're going to use. And alternatively, you can use the likes of the Sadlin Super Deck or the Rust-Oleum all-purpose paint. So they're ones that will actually stick to galvanised without the need for a primer, or otherwise primer and the paint you used in the past should be fine.
Next up then on 083 30 10 103, Rita in Mullingar says, our daughter had a few friends stay at the weekend. This is the old fake tan problem. So
fake tan? Is it a problem with old fake tan or new fake tan?
There are false tan stains all over the bathroom, she says.
Right, yeah.
On the toilet seat, in the bath, on the sink. I have tried baby wipes, which have not worked.
Oh.
Can you recommend a cleaner? I suppose she's thinking of not damaging surfaces too, replacing one stain with another.
Yeah, with another, yeah. Yeah, so look, if you're going to buy something, I'd probably go out and buy something like the Barkeeper's Friend, but really something that you might have in the house already would be ceramic hob cleaner. So if you have a ceramic hob cleaner, you'll often buy a little bottle of cream cleaner that is tiny, it's ever so slightly abrasive. It's not like sandpaper, it's just very gentle, but yet it has a really good cleaning aspect to it because it's ever so slightly abrasive. It will not scratch the surface, but you can use it very safely on your Bakelite or PVC toilet seat. You can definitely use it in the bath and the sink and all that. And again, I know I always go on, but the nylon scarring pad is just brilliant. So pour a bit on, wet the sponge first, pour a bit on, rub, and then as you're going, wipe it off. That's really the secret, and it will definitely do it, and it definitely won't do any harm to the surface.
Now, still on the agenda this morning, how a cycleway in County Laois attracted 750 objections and submissions. It's not a multi-storey apartment complex or a prison or something that would normally attract so much attention. So why was there all of this concern about a cycleway?
Mr. Fix-It is here to take on your DIY dilemmas. Text or WhatsApp to 083 3010 103.
Now, Brian is with us until 11 from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore. And our next question, which comes on 083 3010 103, is from Tom in Durrow. And he says he was painting the house during the fine weather a few weeks ago, used masking tape to protect the windows, but forgot to take it off. So now when he goes to remove it, it is impossible to pull off in one piece. And it is going to take forever to go bit by bit, and it will still leave a lot of bits left. He's afraid to use a scraper because that could damage the PVC. Is he missing a trick?
No, he's right. You can't use a scraper. People have often used scrapers not realising that they're scratching the PVC, and only when the scratch marks fill up with dirt does it become noticeable. So I suppose this is not for, is it Tom? This is not for Tom really, but for anyone listening. Masking tape is really only designed to be left on for 8 hours. Now you can get a blue masking tape. There's various brands now. I think Blue Dolphin was the first one, and maybe that's the only reason they made it blue. But nearly it's gas the way things work. Now all the 14-day tape is blue. And people, if they're looking for the tape that you can leave on for longer, they just look for the blue tape. And even in this weather, I wouldn't be leaving it on for 14 days, in such heat. But you can certainly leave it on for longer. Really the only thing, you can try a bit of alcohol. So that would be methylated spirits, hand sanitizer, the high alcohol and hand sanitizers. A lot of us have that about that we haven't used. And failing that, there's a thing called sticky stuff remover, which is a spray-on gel. And the reason that works so well, it's a gel. So it stays in place to soften everything up and break everything down, and then you wash it off. But always just, if you happen to have, hand sanitizer, plenty of it left, or people have it. If you ask around, often people will have it. You could brush that on and maybe brush it on, maybe put it on a rag and sit it on top of it and just keep it in place with cling film or whatever for 10 minutes and see if that's enough to soften it up. And you could try gently rubbing with, guess what? A nylon scouring pad. So usually if you gently rub with a nylon scouring pad, it'll break down the glue and break down the little bits of paper without doing any damage. But anybody else, if you're painting out, anytime you're painting outside, try and use one of the blue tapes, because they're 14-day tapes and they will last longer without being difficult to take off.
The fear when you paused and said, guess what?
You should have seen the look on his face.
It was like being back in class. The teacher suddenly says, Faulkner!
Faulkner! It's like the one that never once, the guy that went to public school in the UK, and he said in his entire life going through primary school, secondary school and third level, he was never once called out and asked a question.
Lucky git.
And his name was, you know him, or you have heard of him, Alistair Darling. And no teacher wanted to say, Darling, what do you think of this?
Need a change of surname there.
Yeah.
Enda asks, what is the best way to paint faded shiplap fence panels? Can they be sprayed? And what is the best paint to get?
Oh, definitely only don't paint unless you really feel strongly about it. Go for a wood preservative. So shiplap is a rough timber, and it's also very thin timber. And if you want to paint it, if you really want to paint it, you'd be using something like the Super Deck. But I would say just go for a wood preservative that's going to soak in. Yes, you can spray it on if you want, because it's very thin. The problem with spraying some paints is they're naturally very thick. And when you thin them out, then you're taking so much of the goodness out by thinning it out. But all the wood preservatives are very thin. But the other thing to say is, don't forget nowadays, so years ago, if you were using a wood preservative, you had like dark brown, light brown, that was it. Nowadays, if you want to, you don't obviously, but if you wanted to go pink or purple or, navy blue or whatever. You can get wood preservative in all those colours now. So think about it before you do it. And the coloured ones will cost a little bit more, but with all these ones, if you use a paint and if it starts to flake off, it's very hard to paint the entirety of the shiplap. So shiplap it's like a louvered, it's like a blind. You have a blind in the window there that you can open and close. So you have all these individual long lengths, and it's very hard to get. You're not going to get the paint on all of it because they overlap. And now the problem is the moisture can get in, and once moisture gets into timber, it has to get out. So it's not an ideal thing to put paint on. You will find it flaking off, and then you have a problem because you have to try sand it down. It's very hard to sand down shiplap, particularly if it's there a while, because a bit like me, it gets brittle with age. So the problem is that if you try sanding it aggressively, you'll end up punching holes in it. So just an oil-based wood preservative, rolled, brushed or sprayed.
We all get brittle with age, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Moira. Oh boy, yeah. So she has a brown compost bin, and it was collected recently. However, the hot weather is making it absolutely stink.
Oh yeah.
So even though it is empty, it is still turning her stomach to even open it.
Yeah.
What can she do? And this will apply to so many
So
bins.
many people. So what I'd say is something like the best of the whole lot, the J's fluid. Lots of people have it in the garage anyway. So the old-fashioned J's fluid, either of them will do actually. Doesn't matter. J's fluid or a disinfectant like that. But the big thing is,
when you say the old-fashioned,
so the original J's fluid comes in a metal tin, and it's anybody that knows J's fluid, it's a very distinctive kind of tar oil kind of smell. And it also did lots of other things. You could use it as a fungicide. You could use it to disinfect greenhouses. You could use it for lots of different things. You could use it on plants to kill the lichen on plants, on trees, on shrubs. They came out with a new one then, which, guess what, was a completely different thing. It was the new improved formula, but you couldn't use it for lots of the things that you used the old one for. And the reason was that the original one was becoming more expensive, and they stupidly said, you know what, we'll produce a new one. But of course the new one didn't sell as well. So now they do both, and they give you the option. You can pay for the cheap and durable one, you can pay for the better one.
And is it distinguished by
metal,
original?
If you just look at metal tin and plastic tin.
Okay.
So metal tin is the original. But in this case, what you'd be doing is you'd be putting some water and J's fluid or whatever disinfectant you use into it, but you need to get like a garden hoe. You need to break up the gunk that's at the bottom. And even a bit of bleach actually will do fine. Put some bleach into it, sloosh it all around, get a hoe to break up the horrible stuff that'll be at the bottom, a rake, a hoe, a piece of timber, break all that up and leave it for 24 hours. And then empty the whole lot out, and then hose it out, because it's a compost bin that you want to be able to compost everything. So you don't want a residue of the bleach or the J's fluid in there, because that'll kill the bacteria that you want to survive. So hose it out well. But going forward, so every time I bring in the compost bin, the first thing I do is I put a few cut branches into the bottom. And then I put some grass clippings, if I have it, in on top of that. And the two reasons for that are that by putting branches at the bottom, they will, when you empty it out, that won't become, if you put food in, it all becomes solid at the bottom, and that creates the problem with the terrible smell. So by putting in the branches first and some grass clippings have uric acid in it, and they're great for neutralising, absorbing the food stuff that you then put in afterwards and neutralising the smell. So branches, grass, and then all your food, you won't have a problem going forward.
So a bit of planning, or layering, I suppose.
Do you know how often I see you doing that? Never in your entire life.
Moving swiftly on, because I can't dispute. Gavin in Kinnity took the kids to the beach on Sunday, just gone. It was absolutely lovely, but wedged with people. The problem now is the back floor of the car is covered in sand. Now, I did use a Hoover before, and it fried it. I am not allowed to use the new Dyson. So, what is the best way? So, sand in a Hoover would...
It shouldn't really cause a problem. It can be hard to get out.
I suppose it depends on the quantity.
It depends on the quantity, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, you'd be starting with a stiff brush, if it's that heavy. So, like a clothes brush. And bring it all up to one end and then sweep it up in the dustpan. But the sand shouldn't really affect the hoover. The only thing is that you need to go, it's hard to lift the sand with the hoover, so you need to go straight down. Like with the hoover, take off the brush end and just go straight down with it and keep tapping it. As you tap it, the sand kind of bounces up and it will come up. But look, it's a dry, clean surface substance. It should empty out of the hoover whatsoever. I doubt, unless you did it with wet sand, it won't affect the hoover. And like in the car, in that heat, the sand, if there was wet sand there,
it should be well dried.
It'd be well dried out by now.
Yeah, but just as you say, take out the heavy stuff first. So Jackie in Mullingar offers a possibility. She says the lady who has the smelly bin, after she washes her brown bin, she can buy 140-litre compostable bin liners. The smell won't be nearly as bad, but you do need to wash after each empty and allow it to dry out again before placing the bag.
Yeah, so your compost bin is smaller than your 240-litre bin. It's only 140, and those bin bags, they're very, very light. They're very flimsy. So if you were to put branches in, it'll just tear it straight away. So it's really for food stuff. It's a liner. It's not a bag. People think it's a bag. Sometimes people buy them thinking, I want an extra big bag for rubbish. It's so thin. But it's really only for putting in lightweight food stuff. If you do put in branches or anything like that, it will tear.
Next listener says, Brian often mentions this famous nylon scouring pad. Is that the flat green one or the one with the sponge attached?
Either. I prefer the sponge, but either. Absolutely. So you can also get them with a white instead of green, which if you saved the lady with the false tan on the toilet seat, you'd use the white one because you're certain that none of the green is going to come off if you were using a strong chemical. But either will do absolutely fine.
Now, the wife has suggested freshening up the garden, and John in Tullamore says he thought that meant just a lick of paint, but apparently it means emptying it first. So I've just discovered about 7 tins of paint from 7 different decades. Well, I doubt 7 different decades. But he's asking, how does he know if any of them are still usable?
Well, if the 7 different decades, they're all gone. So look, really, the smell and the look. If the smell off, they're definitely off. If you're not sure, just open the tin, stir it well, and just brush it onto a piece of timber and see, does it dry, does it set, does everything look okay? And if it looks okay, it'll be okay. But normally the rule of thumb would be oil-based paints will last an awful lot longer than water-based paints. And always, if you're keeping half-full tins of paint, store them upside down so that when you take them off the shelf and turn them upside down, all the stuff that will be stuck to the lid in the normal way will now be in the bottom and will be stuck to the lid because it's there, and when you turn upside down it'll be stuck to the lid as opposed to in the bottom of the tin, and it'll be much easier to stir now. But the real secret is, if you've half a tin of paint left, just pour it into a jar that the jar is full. Air is the enemy. A half full tin of paint will go off. A full tin of paint will last so much longer. So just pour it into a jam jar, pour it into a mayonnaise jar and seal it, and at least then you've a better chance of keeping it going forward.
Brian, thanks as ever.
Thanks, Will.
Next Wednesday, 10:20, he shall be back, or you'll find him at Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore. David Hollywood is here in the next hour, looking at why a cycleway caused so much concern in County Laois, and women in the Midlands come together in a show of solidarity in Mullingar.
Mr. Fix-It on Midlands 103.